We are going to be live here in a few more minutes. I did speak with the next presenter and he's just about ready. We're having some strange things going on with the vendor booths as well. So if you checked them out before and there were not videos playing, most of them, I believe, have videos. So they should be corrected now. In the meantime, glad to see some people participating in the chat, getting your questions answered. Thank you, Ron, again for joining us. He now has to leave. I might be getting a call from the next speaker at the moment, so I will be back shortly.
After that, we're going to talk about a little bit about the physiology of stress and how mindfulness can help manage stress better. We're going to talk about the neuroplasticity. And then we're going to talk about resilience and how we can build a program of self-care and develop the tools to become more resilient, because resilience will prevent burnout, or at least decrease the incidence of burnout. So the first slide, if you can see my screen, is about mindfulness. You know, when John Kabat-Zinn started this maybe 35 years ago, he defined it this way. It is the awareness that arises out of paying attention on purpose in the present moment without judgment. So this means like being aware of where we are, being aware of what's happening within us, and our body, our mind, and accepting that without any judgment. You know, it could be bad thoughts, it could be pains and aches everywhere, you know, depending on which level we're working. And since then, mindfulness has evolved, because it's not only about being present in the moment or just meditation, it's much more than that. And the new definition we follow on mindfulness is consciously attending to the present moment with wisdom and clarity, and initiating actions in alignment with our values. So it's not only sitting in the chair or on the cushion and meditating, which is nice, it's very relaxing, but also we want to bring mindfulness to our everyday life and initiating actions, because if we just have the thoughts and don't take the action, it's not going to help us. And if we don't have positive thoughts, then it's not going to be translated in positive actions. So it's important to focus on all those things, which brings us to the 4 keys of mindfulness. 4 keys of mindfulness are, first, attention and intention. And we're going to learn how to train our attention to focus on our intention. The second one is values. The third key is wisdom, which is learning from our mistakes. And the 4th key is open heart. Of course, if we practice mindfulness without loving kindness, without compassion, without caring for ourselves and other people, it's not really going to help anybody. So it's a practical tool. It's not something vague. Actually, it's a way of being. So you become more of who you want to be. So why mindfulness? Because mindfulness builds resilience. A lot of research has been done about mindfulness, and it shows that it builds resilience, and people become happier, their well-being improves, especially physicians, and we're going to see the statistics from the Mayo Clinic about that. It improves overall health. It enhances relationships. Of course, when we become more aware and more present in the relationship is going to get better, and it decreases rumination and anxiety. So how did I get into mindfulness? The question is, as I said, I experienced burnout, and to quickly define burnout, it is a syndrome of multiple symptoms. And it's due to chronic stress. There is no doubt about that. So first symptom is physical and emotional exhaustion, cynicism, sense of low personal accomplishment, leading to decreased effectiveness at work and loss of enthusiasm and motivation. And that's where it becomes serious, when you lose your passion, you lose your enthusiasm, motivation to do what you really want illness. It may lead to depression, suicide attempts, drug abuse, alcohol abuse. So it's important to detect it early enough so we can avoid the difficult and bad. I don't want to call that bad, but just the consequences of burnout. In a survey, run in 2015, a lot of research from maybe thousands of physicians, they found out that physicians have a 55% rate of burnout. That's extremely high. That's not healthy for the medical profession. In other professions, it's around 33%, so 1/3. So physicians are on the top of the list, and many reasons for that. That we're going to see later on. There are external factors of burnout and internal factors, and we'll talk about those just quickly. So what is the purpose of mindfulness? Mindfulness helps us build resilience so we can deal more effectively with chronic stress, and it facilitates mental and emotional balance. So this is important. And since we're talking about resilience, how do we define resilience? Resilience is the ability of an individual to respond to stress in a healthy, adaptive way, such that personal goals are achieved at minimal psychological and physical cost. So people who are resilient are usually flexible. They bounce back quickly from a problem, from catastrophe, from shock. So they bounce back quickly, and it's not because they don't care or because they make a difference, no, but because they have the ability to look at things in a more objective way and learn from it. So as you can see in this graph here, it's important to take care of ourselves, because the more good we feel about ourselves in the field, you can see the well-being. So if you have a high personal care techniques and you're highly engaged, you're going to feel very happy and productive. Now, if you're highly engaged, and a lot of us are perfectionists, especially in the medical profession, we want everything to be perfect. And of course, perfection is not of this world. So we're always unhappy of what we have achieved. So if we just work and don't take care of ourselves, if we have a low sense of well-being, low self-care techniques, then we're going to come exhausted, get burned out, and leave. So it is very important to be aware of how we take care of ourselves. That's the one important thing that you need to learn from this lecture, is that self-care is number one thing to avoid burnout and keep you going and engaged. So, like we said before, there are external factors of burnout, and for physicians, it's competition, perfectionism, government regulation, electronic medical records, sick patients, malpractice suits. So there are a lot of external factors that sometimes we don't have a lot of power to change them. And there are internal factors of burnout, and that's where we can make a difference. And so we need to be aware of our perfectionist attitude. We need to be aware if we had any emotional trauma or physical trauma in the past, because sometimes that may create irrational beliefs, like I'm not good enough or I can't do it. And it stays with us from childhood, so we need to resolve those and restructure our beliefs to be able to move forward. And we need to take care of ourselves on all levels. So as I explained to my patients, health is a balance of all levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So we need to have a balance between all those levels. If somebody comes to you with a physical problem, you need to find out what's causing the problem. It could be emotional issues, it could be sometimes mental issues, so you need to be very aware of that. So, how does stress create burnout? Like you all know, um, when we are uh, submitted to a stressful event, or stressors, we elicit the fight or flight response. And I was going to ask a question here, and you can answer in the chat box, and Chase can monitor that. What is the hormone secreted in the blood, or called neurotransmitter, that creates the flight response? What's the major? So I'm going to give you a few seconds to do that, or to write it down, and put it in the chat box. So to continue on the neurotransmitter, as some of you may have guessed, the major neurotransmitter during the fight or flight response is adrenaline or epinephrine. And this fight or flight response, it's a survival mechanism that our ancestors had to have to be able to survive in the jungle, to get food on the table, and it stayed with us. And most of the time, the fight or flight response is autonomous. It happens quickly without even thinking about it. So it's not under the control of your gray matter, of your brain. It's more under the control of what we call the autonomous nervous system. So the autonomous nervous system is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic. So when we have the fight or flight response, there is a trigger in the hypothalamus, in the brain, and we're going to see a picture of where the hypothalamus is, which triggers the sympathetic system and increases the secretion of adrenaline from the adrenal glands. That's where epinephrine and adrenaline come. The second hormone, which is secreted in cortisol, is the second hormone is cortisol, which also secreted from the adrenal, but the peripheral part of the adrenal. Adrenaline comes from the central part of the adrenal, which is a gland above your kidneys. It can inhibit your immune system, impair memory, affect cognitive function, may cause sleep disorders. So it's important to become aware of that. And that's the effect of chronic stress, which means when it is long term and it becomes painful after a certain point. Adrenaline causes constriction of the arteries, which can cause our heart to go faster, our blood pressure to rise. So sometimes causes heart trouble. It also increases the blood flow to our muscles because we're ready to fight with the fight or flight response. So those are some of the neurotransmitters which are secreted. And if, let's say, if you're stuck in the traffic in New York City and you're getting upset, you're going to be late to work, you get angry, and you have deadlines, what happens in your body? Adrenaline is secreted, your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate increases, and there is nowhere to go. You cannot go anywhere. So if you don't learn the techniques to calm yourself, you're going to have a lot of health problems. High blood pressures, heart attack, anxiety, migraine, chronic pain, and even cancer. There are a lot of research that stress can cause cancer. So the other question that I wanted to ask you is, all stress negative or all stress bad? So I'm sure some of you are saying yes, some of you are saying no. In fact, there is a good stress, something we call eustress. The bad stress is distress. Eustress is when it's pleasant, it's short-lived. And if you can write in the chat box an example of eustress, what do you think is a positive stress? Just write it down in the chat box, and Chase will monitor that, and we'll review them at the end when answering your questions. And during the eustress, dopamine is secreted in the brain. It's another neurotransmitter which is responsible for attention, motivation. That also, is important in the fight or flight response. Endorphins are also important because they create that sense of control and joy, and it's important that when you reach a goal, examples of eustress, let's say in athlete preparing for the Olympics. So they have, that stress, they have those adrenaline, they have a lot of dopamine, endorphins secreted. They feel joy, they feel, strong that they can go on forever. So it's short-term stress is helpful, but when it becomes chronic and long-term and painful, then it's not as helpful. So how does mindfulness, or why we use mindfulness to build resilience and fight stress in a positive way? Because mindfulness, also a lot of research has been proven that changes the circuits in your brain. Mindfulness improves certain areas in your brain and create new circuits in the brain. So the brain is not the static organ that we thought in the past that it was. There is what we call neuroplasticity in the brain, and it may change with certain techniques. And what they found out, a neuroscientist, a lot of neuroscientists, but one of them from Harvard University proved that there are two areas mainly in the brain which changed in a positive way. They studied people with MRI before they started a mindfulness course, and 8 weeks after 8 weeks after the end of the mindfulness course, so they meditated every day, practiced mindfulness every day, and what they found out is there are two areas in the brain which got hyperactive, which means they got thicker on MRI. Temporal parietal, which is the center of empathy, compassion, emotional intelligence, how you relate to yourself, how you relate to other people, and the prefrontal area, which is here, the front of our brain, which is a center of awareness, motivation, enthusiasm, communication. So those are very important. So as you can see, this is the prefrontal area, and this here is the temporal parietal area. Those are, centers of reasoning, intelligence, behavior, memory, among other things. So neuroplasticity, the research from Harvard has shown that intentional activities, because mindfulness is an intentional activity, that brings us to the first key of mindfulness. We said attention and intention. So when we set an intention to do something and we do it, that's what's going to make a difference in our lives, not think we do haphazardly. So it's important to become aware of our intention. This is the limbic system, or the emotional brain, the center of our brain where that fight or flight response is triggered, sometimes without even us thinking about it. That's the hypothalamus, There's another area here which is called the amygdala. The amygdala is the center of stress and anxiety. And the same research, the neuroscientist named Sarah Lazar, she showed that there is a shrinkage in the amygdala after 8 weeks of mindfulness. That's why people become more calm, not only more empathic and compassionate, but more calm and can become more resilient and deal with stress in a more effective way. So, so what are the degrees of mindfulness? Like we said before, sometimes just being aware of our body is the first step for mindfulness, just paying attention to our body and our breath. And we're going to do a grounding meditation in a minute to let you experience what that means. So we're aware of what we are doing. This second, I think, is why we are doing it. What's our motivation in doing the things we are doing? Are we doing things which are healthy for us? Is it healthy? Is it following our values? Is it following the qualities of the open heart? So those are important to realize and to know. And the last thing is it based on reality? Is it realistic? Are we aware of impermanence, the things that happen without our control? How can we accept that, without becoming, without having resentment or anger? So it brings our emotions to a more balance when we do that. So to go back to the keys of mindfulness, we're going to talk about attention. And attention is when we focus our awareness on the breath. And the reason we choose the breath is because the breath is always with us. And we're going to train our mind to focus on the breath because we have what we call a hyperactive mind, or they call it the monkey mind, obsessive compulsive mind. And our mind drags us, somewhere else and take our attention away from what we should be focusing on. And research have shown for everybody that 50% of the time we are not in the present, or we are ruminating about the past, or maybe remembering good memories of the past, or we're worrying about the future. So only 50% of the time we are present, and that's not good. We are losing 50% of our time. So with mindfulness and training of our attention, we become more aware of our intention, and then bringing our mindfulness back to our daily life, we focus our attention on our intention. So it's just a practice to train our attention. And this will deal with, that obsessive compulsive mind that we talked about. So probably you are listening to me now. So I'm going to take time to do what we call a grounding meditation. The grounding meditation is just to become aware of our body. And when I ask you to focus on the breath, just that you bring your awareness to the breath and just breathe normally. You feel your belly expand when you inhale and relax when you exhale. You can even put your hand on your belly and see how it rises when you inhale, how it relaxes when you exhale. You can leave your eyes open or just focus on a focal point so you don't get distracted. And just first start with taking a deep breath in and out. And when you exhale, just let go of any tension. Breathe in. And with your next exhalation, let go of any worries and concerns. And give yourself permission to be here and now. To take care of yourself. And to become more aware and more mindful. Have your back straight. Your head balanced on your shoulders. Feel your feet solid on the floor and your connection to the earth. And then feel a wave of relaxation going up from your feet to your calf muscles, to your thighs. Relax any tension there. Feel your hips sink in the chair. Relax your back. And bring your awareness to the breath. Just feel your belly rise when you inhale and relax when you exhale. You can count your breath, one for each full breath. You inhale, exhale, that's one. Then you inhale and exhale, that's two. So count from 1 to 8, just focusing on the breath. Feel your shoulders relax and your hands heavy on your lap. Relax your face and your jaw. And slowly bring your attention back to the room. And wiggle your fingers and toes. You can open your eyes. So just write in the chat box, how did you feel, during or after the meditation? Then when you started, are you more relaxed? Are you more calm? Some people get irritated, so it depends. There's no perfect way to do it, as we said before. So just do your best, and it's all about training our attention, focus on our breath, so we can later focus on our attention. And if your mind wanders, and it's going to do, your monkey mind, just acknowledge the thought and bring your attention back to the breath. And that's a mindful moment. So if your mind wanders 100 times and you bring your attention to the breath 100 times, that's 100 mindful moments. So there is no wrong way to do it. And if you just start practicing 5 minutes a day, just a breathing exercise, you don't even have to call it meditation. Just a breathing exercise, 5 minutes a day, please 1 minute per day, that will give you a lot of calmness and a lot of balance. Next, I'm going to talk about intention. What is an intention? How do we set intention? Intention is, it's like a commitment, a personal declaration about who we want to be, who we want to become. How do you want to show up in the world today? And we choose to pay attention to that intention. So intention is always deliberate. It's always a conscious decision. So it's a goal that you set for yourself. Motivation sometimes comes automatically. Some people are motivated, some are not. But the intention is always a conscious goal. So we need to become intentional about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And that's what's going to make it a lot of difference in our life. So intention is also based on our values, which is the second key of mindfulness. And values, when we focus on our values, it brings us more inner peace. It brings us genuine happiness. And also, since I am a physician, I need a lot of proof. A lot of research has been shown to show that a lot of values, gratitude, optimism, improve our immune system, makes us happier. So it is important to focus and become aware of those values. And also, I want you to write in the chat box or just in your, on your paper, what's the difference between genuine happiness? How do you define genuine happiness and just the regular happiness we experience every day, or what we call stimulus-driven pleasure? So just write down, how do you see, how do you define genuine happiness? And like we said, if our values are the direction we choose, our intention is the path to walk along. So our values are like a lighthouse. It's like our purpose, really who we want to become. It's like I said before, a way of being. It's not a goal to attain. It's just how you want to become, how you want to function in the world. So intention is to set the goals, how to get there. And every time you see yourself going away from your goal or taking actions which are not in alignment with your value, the lighthouse will remind you, okay, you come back to the path and look at the lighthouse and continue doing what you need to do. And we, we're all human. We're all going to, get away from the path, and it's important just to be aware of that and come back to the path. So what I'm going to do now is what we call a values exercise. So I'm going to share another paper, and it has values on it. So it's just like a handout. You read it and you pick up, what values are important to you. Just try to pick up maybe around 6 first, and just write them down. So I'm going to see if I can. Okay, here it is. So there are a lot of values or qualities that we would like to have or we would like to acquire. And sometimes we think we don't have those qualities. But in fact, we all have some kind of a quality. Maybe it's 10% of that quality is inside of me. And I really want to nurture that. I choose to water those seeds to become a better person. Like say if I'm an angry person or a person who's jealous or is never happy. So choose the values which are going to help you become kinder, become more focused on what you want to become. Control your emotions, better become calmer, kinder, more compassionate. So just pick up 6 values of those values. And this is the upper half of the value sheet, and I'm going to show you the lower half in maybe 30 seconds. So just go through this, read it, and pick up what is important to you. I'm going to show the lower half of the values sheet, and you can also pick up some of the values here which are important to you. The most important, I know all of them are great values and would love to have all of them, but just at this time of your life, what's important for you to help you move forward toward your goal, toward becoming a better person, toward a great goal that you want to achieve. So just pick up those values or qualities that you need to acquire or to nurture to help you with your goals. Okay, I'm assuming everyone has at least few qualities I know it takes longer time to do that, but this is just like an example. And sometimes there are qualities that you want which are not here, and that's fine too. You can choose those qualities. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and ask you to at this point to pick the top 2 values that you think are the most important to you from those 6 values. Just pick up the top 2 which are the most important to you at this time of your life. So setting an intention is really focusing on those values. What is it that I value deeply? What is it that I value deeply? It could be sometimes something you see in somebody else, and that person is great. They are generous. They are compassionate. Helpful, and like a conviction I come from or I believe in is that when we see that quality in somebody else, it means that we have that quality inside of us, or else we wouldn't recognize it. somebody else. So just pick those one or two values that are important to you. What is that I value deeply? And what in the depth of my heart do I wish for myself, for my loved one, and for the world? What is in the depth of my heart do I wish for myself? At this time of your life, it may change. Your intention may differ in a week or in a month. You can set a different intention for every day or once a week, or the same for the whole month, or even for the whole year. So it's your choice to choose which intention you want to focus on, and create that intention to take those actions that we are going to accomplish, or those goals we want to accomplish to become a better person, or the person we would like to be. So before we're going to end the meditation with what we call meditation called the relaxation response, or the loving kindness meditation. And some of you may know why, when we practice a relaxation response like we did with that grounding meditation, we sat down still, focus our attention on the breath, relax our muscles. What happens also, our breathing becomes slower, our heart rate drops. So that's a relaxation response. So what do you think is the hormone or the neurotransmitter which is responsible for the relaxation response? And that, just by relaxing and sitting and breathing, we can enhance the relaxation response. You can also write it in the chat box or in your journal, and we'll discuss it later with your questions. So the hormone neurotransmitter responsible for the relaxation response is called acetylcholine, and it comes from the parasympathetic system. We said we have two autonomous nervous systems: the sympathetic one, which causes the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic one, which causes relaxation, low heart rate, and low blood pressure, and it counters the effect of the adrenaline. Also, a few more hormones are secreted with the relaxation response: oxytocin, which is important for bonding; serotonin, which makes us feel good, regulates our mood. So this is what happens when we do the relaxation response. So it's not like we're just sitting there and meditating, trying to become calm. No, it's happening. There is a lot of chemistry happening in your brain. All those neurotransmitters are molecules, they're protein. So they're important to regulate our mood and our behavior. Which brings us to the next key of mindfulness, which is the wisdom. And the wisdom is the ability to recognize healthy habits. So what is it that I'm doing that is healthy for me or bringing me joy? And what is the habits that are not healthy, not helping me and not helping other people or hurting other people? So we need to become aware of that. And once we become aware of that, then we start gaining the wisdom. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So wisdom is recognizing those things, those actions, those thoughts that are not helping us, and taking actions to change them, or even to change our thoughts. With affirmations, we learn affirmations to give positive messages to ourselves, because most of the time we give ourselves negative messages. We're sometimes our worst enemy, because if we talk to somebody or to our friends the way we talk to ourselves, we never have any friends left, because usually we tell ourselves, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not great, nobody likes me, nobody expects me. So we have all those negative self-talk, and I'm not saying those are not normal. We all have those thoughts. The only thing is to acknowledge the thought like we do when we do the meditation, let it go and bring a positive thought instead of it. So when you hear in your mind those, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, just change your thought and focus on, yes, I can do it. I will do my best. My best is enough. Just keep giving positive thoughts to yourself. That's another good thing you can learn with self-care to build resilience and avoid the burnout. And the last quality of mindfulness, or the last key, is the open heart. The open heart is, bringing loving kindness and compassion to this world. Because, there's a lot of violence in the world, a lot of hatred, and they don't need more of that. So it's important to bring that kindness. And we can do it, like I said before, consciously. It's like being proactive, deciding how do I want to be, and do it, take the actions, nurture those qualities, water the seeds that you want to have. To bring compassion. And it starts also with yourself, because the most important factor in loving kindness and compassion and mindfulness is to bring it to yourself first before being able to give it to other people. And there are 4 qualities of the open heart, which are equanimity, which means you stay, anything happening on the outside does not disturb your inner peace. It's like the depth of the ocean. The depth of the ocean is always calm, although there are a lot of waves on the surface. So, a lot of things are going to happen in our life, a lot of disasters and problems and, factors causing burnout and stress. So they're all happening. But if it doesn't disturb our inner peace, and we know deep inside that we can handle it, we learn the tools to handle it, eventually we stay calm on the inside. So we bring loving kindness to ourselves, compassion, empathy. And also a lot of research has been done to show that positive emotions steady the mind neurologically. Love, gratitude, commitment, happiness can increase also dopamine in our brain and increase our sense of well-being. Gratitude improves our immune system, helps us become more resilient, and cuts down on negative emotions. So what we recommend really to do an effective mindfulness practice is, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing to do is think about something you're grateful for. Gratitude is an amazing quality that could change your life for the better. So, sometimes when I'm taking a shower, I'm grateful for hot water, or clean water. 50% of the world population don't have clean water, or don't have enough food to eat. We take things for granted most of the time. So just think about how you can be grateful, how gratitude is important to you. And so how we address those internal factors which are causing burnout that we talked about before, reading, journaling, time management, and humor is a great way to increase endorphins in your blood. Music therapy, meditation, like we said, mindfulness, getting a hobby are all important things to help you build resilience. So, it's good to focus on your study, focus on your exams, but also it's important to take care of yourself on other levels, on staying healthy. Like building resilience on the physical level is about exercising regularly, eating healthy food, doing, some practices like yoga or Tai Chi to calm you down are important. On the emotional level, having a good support group, loving people who really care for you in your group of friends or somebody you can talk to are important to build that emotional resilience. Mental resilience, like we said, is about creating affirmation and becoming more positive in our thoughts and actions. And finally, spiritual resilience is about using gratitude, using forgiveness. Forgiveness is a great spiritual quality. Forgive ourselves and forgive others to bring that spiritual resilience to ourselves. And finally, remembering your passion is important. A lot of you, when you entered college or medical school, have lost some of your passion that you had as a youngster. Some people used to play music. I know from the groups of residents that I worked with about the mindfulness. Some of them used to write, some of them used to draw, some of them used to play music. And so when they became aware of, my God, they lost that. They went back to at least practice music or drawing or something they're passionate about, maybe 1 hour a week or more. And they started getting better and better, and their resilience got better. So finally, if you want to take, some wisdom from this, have a good support system, build resilience, on all levels, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Have always a self-care plan, use mindfulness, and find your mission or your purpose in life, because our purpose, as I said, is a way of being, is, why am I here on this world? God created me for a purpose, so what is it that I want to achieve? It's not a goal, it's a way of being. So this is the final slide, which explains, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual resilience. Just examples of resilience on a different level. So we're going to be open for question and see how Chase is going to work with that. These are, if you need more information, you can check my website, mindfulnesscoaching.com, or you can read my book, Burnout Engagement, or send me an email at assaad@gmail.com. So this is these are the benefits of mindfulness, and we're waiting for your questions. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Dr. Mounzer. I am going to try to ask these questions here. It's going to be a little difficult, so I apologize if there's an echo in your ear. We're actually sharing my microphone right now since I couldn't get the audio to stream directly. The first question here we have is how to approach sudden changes that disrupt your mindfulness skills, something like grief as the example.
Wonderful. That's a great question. When something happens, like we said, there are external factors which are causing burnout, and grief is one of them. You said grief, didn't you?
Correct.
Yeah. So grief is actually, there's a whole lecture on grief, especially for physicians, because as physicians, we don't know how to grieve. And it's important to grieve adequately so we can move on. We cannot just ignore, especially, we lose a lot of patients over the years in our, practice as physicians, and we don't take time to grieve. We work with it as if like this is something normal, and we ignore it, and usually we just put it inside ourselves. So it's important to grieve, to cry, to take time for yourself. And when you take time for yourself, you can use the breathing exercises and become mindful of your emotions. Like, yeah, I'm feeling this way, but it's okay. We said no judgment when we started with the definition of mindfulness. So I don't want to judge myself. I'm grieving. I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling exhausted. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm going to take all the time that I need to grieve. And so acknowledging that, becoming aware of it, will help us get over it quicker. So acknowledging our grief, accepting it as a as a result of losing something, losing a person, losing a job, losing your house. So a lot of things can cause grief. So important to acknowledge it, get help if you have to, get counseling, stay with it until it's resolved, and it may take some time to resolve. So you can just keep grieving, but taking the next step and doing what you need to do.
Okay, I think this next question was sort of just covered by your answer as well. It was asking about if you missed the prevention stage, then how can you manage burnout? If you've missed the prevention as far as using this as a preventative measure, you're already starting to get stressed out to burnout, I think is the question. What would you do in that stage?
I see. Yeah. So you're saying you're already in burnout mode. And I know it happened to me actually more than once. I quit my practice twice because you don't realize it, and then you become irritable, angry, anything will anger you, and then you stop. What's happening to me? Then you realize that, oh my God, a lot of stress. I'm not dealing well with it, etc. So if it's already happening and you couldn't prevent it, then you need to get some help. I get counseling. Everybody, when they reach that stage, they get counseling. It could be, they're doing things that are helpful in prevention, but also are helpful in building resilience while you're going through the burnout. So first, you need to stop the cycle. Like what's causing my burnout? Why am I becoming like this? Am I not taking good care of myself? Am I working long hours? Am I getting angry at things that are not in my power? So we need to look at those options and start cutting down of, that's what I did, cut down on my number of patients I see, took more time for myself to walk in nature, to exercise, and eat healthier food, spend time with my family. I was working 14, 15 hours a day, not spending enough time with my family. So even if you're in the middle of it, there are things to do to become better and healthier. Like I said, getting help, talking to other people is important.
Another question is, when studying for long periods of time and sitting for a long time, a lot of us have chronic back pain or some sort of aches. Is there a way to incorporate mindfulness to help alleviate this pain?
Yeah, great questions. Stress, like we said before, can cause chronic pain, anxiety, and especially when we're in college, preparing for medical school, a lot of competitiveness there. We don't take good care of ourselves. So one thing you can do is just stand up every half an hour and do some stretching for 5 minutes. It's not going to take time away from your studying, because on the contrary, it gives you more energy to go further. Second, know what are your limits. If you're studying 8 hours a day and you're exhausted at the end of 8 hours, and you don't retain as much as you used to, just cut down on your hours. Let's say instead of 8 hours, 7 hours, and that hour, use it to take good care of yourself. Go and walk in nature. Reflect, on what's going on with you. Why are you having back pain? What's causing the back pain? Is it a bad posture? Do you need to do some stretching? Do you need to take yoga exercises or Tai Chi? Spend some Tai Chi practice. And it takes only half an hour a day to do some stretching, some Tai Chi. But important to stand up and stretch every half an hour, even for 5 minutes. Sometimes, take 5 minutes to listen to music or, read quotes which are spiritual. Can sometimes cut down on that routine and makes you feel better. Sometimes laughter, laughter increases your endorphins, and endorphins are your endogenous morphine, so it may cut down on the pain also. So a lot of factors can help do that. Mindfulness, of course, when you just stop and breathe for 5 minutes, just focus on the breath, focus on your back. Send some loving, healing energy to your back. When it's hurting, and believe me, it works.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mounzer, for your great advice. I think that's about all the time we have right now. I want to thank you so much for joining us on this event, and I really think the audience has gained a lot from you, so I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care.
Goodbye. This is definitely a juggling act. This is quite interesting. See how many things I can do at one time. All right. So yes, thank you again to Dr. Mounzer. His information was available through that slide. If you would like more personal contact information or miss that slide, these videos will be recorded, so you can watch them at a later time. Hopefully we'll be able to post them in the next couple of days to weeks. If you need anything before that, you can always reach out to me and I'll see what I can do about getting those to you. Let's see. In the meantime, we only have a few minutes until our next presenter. So we are going to start at 10 after. I'm going to get that one loaded up and ready to go. Feel free to go check out the expo booths. Most all of them have some sort of gifts, giveaways, discounts for you to enjoy. And again, a shout out to our sponsor for the event, which is StatMed Learning. Sorry about that. And I will see you all again in a few minutes.